You've known him 15 years. Tonight, he can pay for dinner. Marcus slides the check toward you like it burns his fingers. You pick it up without a word. He exhales. 15 years ago, neither of you had $50. You met in a cinder block dorm room at Ohio State. Marcus had a busted guitar and a laugh that filled the hallway. You had a laptop and no idea what came next. You split a pizza on Fridays. Neither of you could afford your own. Same major, same broke bank account, same beat-up futon. Graduation day, rented gowns you gave back that afternoon. Marcus managed a hardware store, steady and glamorous. You took a supply chain job outside Columbus. $47,000 a year, just enough to start. You read the benefits packet nobody else opened. 4% for 101k match, free money in a footnote. You filled out the form. Marcus never got that memo. Not because he wasn't smart. Nobody explained it to him. You started a Roth IRA. $150 every payday. Nobody noticed. That was the point. Marcus married young. Tasha, steady job at a school district. You stood beside him as best man in a rented suit. 2 years later, their first son was born in March. You drove 3 hours, held him for 4 minutes. Life was still parallel then. Same highway, same speed. Then the highway began to bend. You left the logistics job at 29. Your savings, $11,200. Marcus got promoted to assistant regional manager. He bought a modest house. 3 bedrooms. A mortgage he could handle. You worked from a card table in a studio with no AC. 8 months in, $30 for $100 left. One nervous client. Marcus called that month just to check in. You didn't tell him how close it was. By year 3, for clients, 1 employee, Marcus was named store manager. You raised a seed round, $800,000. Marcus and Tasha had a daughter that fall. You sent flowers. You were in Atlanta closing a deal. The distance wasn't dramatic yet, just small gaps. At 34, your company sold for $40 million. You told almost nobody. Marcus found out from a group text. He called immediately, genuinely happy. We need to celebrate, he said. You never scheduled it. 6 months later, his hardware store closed permanently. A national chain undercut them for 3 years straight. Marcus was 41. 12 years there, 2 weeks notice. He applied everywhere, anything with a steady paycheck. 3 months passed. The mortgage was still due. Tasha picked up extra hours. It wasn't enough. You didn't know yet. You were in another country. You were building your second company by then. You checked your phone. 14 missed calls from Marcus. You called back. His voice sounded different. I didn't want to bother you, he said. The store closed. The mortgage was 2 months behind. You could have wired the money before the call ended. $18,000 was nothing to your balance sheet, but you learned something from your own scramble years earlier. Money without a plan just delays the same problem. So you booked a flight home for Saturday. You sat at his kitchen table with a notepad. You went through everything. Every bill, every term. You found a forbearance program his lender never mentioned. You helped him apply for unemployment he still qualified for. You didn't write a check. You handed him a plan. 3 weeks later, he landed a warehouse supervisor job. Lower pay, but solid ground again. We going to be okay, he said. You believed him, but something had shifted between you. You seen inside his kitchen drawer the overdue notices. He seen the hesitation in your eyes over a bill. Neither of you said the number out loud. Not once. You started paying for things quietly. You never made it a moment. Marcus noticed. He just stopped mentioning it. The group chat started changing. Fewer messages. Not out of choice. It just started happening. You bought a house in a nicer suburb. Marcus came to see it once. Stood in the kitchen longer than usual. This is really nice, man, he said. He meant it. You noticed the flicker. You said nothing. Your business grew. 11 employees, then 30. Marcus stayed at the warehouse for years. Never late. You stopped talking about work when you were together. You talked about his kids instead. That became the safe territory. At 39, you sold your second company. $190 million. You didn't tell Marcus for 3 weeks. Not distrust. You just didn't know how to say the number. Every version of the sentence felt like it would change something. Marcus found out from a local news article. He called that night. To come. That was the part that stung. Would we been nice to hear it from you first, he said. You apologized. It cold and tea and 3 weeks of silence. Something had cracked. Quietly, you still saw each other. Birthdays, holidays, Sunday calls. But the ease was different. Math under every conversation now. Marcus stopped inviting you to things that cost money. Not out of anger, a protectiveness neither of you named, you noticed the gaps. Never asked him directly. At 42, Marcus' son got a partial scholarship. The gap was still $11,000 a year. Marcus took a second job. Delivery driving on weekends. You found out from Tasha, not Marcus. This time you didn't hesitate. You called the financial aid office. You set up a scholarship fund in the boy's name, anonymous. Marcus never knew it was you. You didn't want him to feel it as charity. Marcus quit the delivery job 3 months later. He told you the news on a Sunday call. Thrilled. That ass amazing. Man, you meant every word. You never told him. He still doesn't know. That ass the part nobody sees. The quiet corrections. The ones that go unmentioned. Because mentioning changes them. At 45, you Ray worth just over $300 million. Marcus is a shift supervisor now. A paid-off Honda. You still see each other every few months. The conversations are careful in ways they never used to be. You both avoid certain topics, out of a kind of mercy. Last month, Marcus's daughter graduated. You flew in, you sat in the third row. An ordinary guest, Marcus introduced you simply as my best friend since college. Not the guy who sold to companies, just his best friend. That meant more than any number. Driving home, you thought about the $50 you split, the pizza, the rented gowns, the futon. You thought about the 14 missed calls. Money didn't ruin the friendship. It changed its shape. It added a language you didn't have before. Careful words. A vigilance. You watching his pride, him watching your pity. Neither of you asked for it. It just arrived. Marcus showed up at your mother's funeral, unasked. You were the first call when his father had a stroke. The money built a wall in some places, a floor in others. You used to think wealth would save or destroy a friendship. It just complicates it. Quietly, permanently, you still split the bill when he insists. You let him win those. It asks not really about the money. It asks about him getting to pay for his own dinner. And you remembering what $50 used to mean. Nobody at that graduation knew what those calls almost cost. Nobody knew about the scholarship or the kitchen table. Nobody needed to know. That was never the point. The point was that 15 years later, he still calls you his best friend. Not the richest friend, just the best one. Somewhere between the dorm room and 300 million, that stayed true. The number changed everything around the friendship, never the friendship itself. That's the part the folder never shows. That's the part that mattered.